Welcome everyone in this new lab development video about building an auto battle game. In this video we're going to do something really sexy, really neat. I was looking forward doing this. We're going to make it so the units I move in my spawn, in my base, are going to modify the units which spawn in the battlefield. And actually, and we're also gonna make that Control End to snap to the grid, just because I'm kind of maniac. So yeah, I'm kind of maniac, but I didn't want to modify this actually. But it doesn't matter. So yeah, and how are we gonna do this? Well, actually, we have some kind of information management we need to do. So basically, the units I currently have in my fight zone are going to be stored, are actually already stored in the grid. So when the in-game state starts the combat phase on the server, it actually needs to ask the clients to give him the information about the grid, and when the server received all the information about all the player grids, it can actually start the combat phase. So that's pretty much it, I guess, for now. So if we're hitting play, we're still switching from a phase to another, everything's fine. We just want to move, I just want to do something real quick. I want to move the camera pivot, and I think that's here. I hit play. Yeah, that's it. So I just wanted to do this. So in the in-game state, when we are starting a new phase, so match players, we're gonna put that in matchmaking. Refresh player shops, we're going to put that in the shop folder. Generate income as well in the shop folder. Get player battlefield, this is a utility function which we're going to need. Oh, actually it's the matchmaking, yeah, it's that. So what do we want to do already? So yeah, when we start the combat phase, so we are switching and it's asking to move our camera, and then we are in combat phase for like 3 seconds. We'll put that to 5. So we actually, so on the server, we actually want to do something. Well, actually no, we want all clients to send, so the server needs to wait for client information and the clients need to send information. So if we don't have authority, basically everyone else but the server, so we're gonna create a new function which is gonna be called wait for player combat data or units. Await combat data. So go to combat phase is going to ask for await combat data on the server and on the client. And actually it's not here that the client is going to react to this. It's in the in-game player state, which we're going to open up real quick. So in the in-game player state, we haven't done anything yet. And I guess first thing we want to do is to grab our battlefield. So we want to have a new function, get player battlefield, get player fight zone, because it's the fight zone we want, not the battlefield. Get player fight zone, return value like this. This is gonna be pure. We're gonna promote that to a variable, fight zone ref, like this. We're gonna grab that. If it's not valid, we're going to go there. If it's valid, we're going to go there. If it's not valid, we're going to get all actors of class of type fight zone. I meant battlefield. We're gonna loop through them, and we're gonna get their fight zone. Get fight zone ref. We want the ref 01, I guess, and we want to set that to our fight zone. Only if we are of ID -1, which is the local battlefield, like this. So the player state knows, we don't want that, we want that. So the player state knows is fight zone. So it has a reference to all its current units, and we're gonna override the function named game states ref get in-game state ref. Actually, get game state ref, yeah, that's it. Cast to in-game state, promote that into a variable, in-game state ref, like this, and we know the trick now. If that game state is valid, we're going to return that. If not, we're going to return that, like this, return value. So the player state has a direct reference to our game states, and it needs to await, so it needs to bind itself, bind to game states, like this. So we need to be calling this here. So we want to bind ourselves to the fact that it's switching phase. Want to create an event there. On phase, on new game phase started. And we're going to remove the function called refresh player shop here, because actually, and it's going to return an error, this is going to be called by the player state itself if it needs to be refreshed, because the logic to refresh the shop is going to be there as well. So on new phase started, we're going to grab phase, new phase, like this. A new game phase started, we're going to switch. So, and if we are, so everyone, a new game phase started. So on the server is going to be called everywhere. So we want to check if it's a local player state. Not here. We want to send units data, send combat data, we call them. And that sounds more logical. So if we are local, when we start the combat phase, we want to send combat data. Like this. And we want to be creating a new, in the game system, in the utility folder, we want to create a new structure, which is going to be f combat data. Open that up. We're going to have a bunch of units, grid units, which is going to be an array. Actually, that's it's not, we're not going to need this. We don't need this to be a grid unit. Grid unit is actually just for debugging purposes, because that way we can easily tell what to spawn in the different places of the game. But we're going to modify this because it's getting in our way. So grid unit is actually not going to be a unit data table row handle, it's just going to be a name. We're going to hit save, and it's going to throw errors all over the place. Well, actually just in the grid. That's why everything disappeared. So in there, so we want to open up our BP unit as well. So unit row is actually going to be a name. We want to create a new unit row name, just because we made that. Oh, we made that replicated, so it's going to work. So unit row is actually going to be a name, like this. We want to change the default variable, and we want to plug that here. Delete that. Where was it called? Find reference. Nowhere else. We can maybe compile without crashing. Yeah, we can. We're going to save everything, and in there we're gonna refresh that node and pull that in here. In unit row at ID, if we hit compile, there's still an error. Units to spawn, yeah. Spawn units. So we're calling this, and we don't want that, and we don't want that. We only want that. We can compile. It compiled. Does everything works the same way it did? No, it don't. Create dynamic instance, set team color. So it cannot get. So what's not working there? I guess that's it. Yeah, that's it. We want like a default unit, and we want like a ranger, for instance. And we have a default unit and a ranger. Okay, so we don't want the default unit. We want a knight. And we have a knight? No, we don't. Oh, it doesn't like the knights? Why doesn't it? It should like the knights, because we do have knights. Oh, we didn't create the knight. Alright. Ranger. Oh yeah, we didn't create the knight, so let's go ahead and create the knight. Like this. And we're gonna create knight SK. Yeah. Oh no, not that one. We're gonna create a system that makes it so the name is horseman. That make it so when it has no reference, it's gonna create the default unit. So we have knight there. Human team color, that's what we want. So if that's valid, so we're gonna select there in the units. If this is equal to none, it's gonna grab default units like this. So if we hit play, yeah. So we have a knight, so we're happy about our knight. Oh yeah, I still have the guy. That's quite funny. So, and if it doesn't find the row, if it's none, oh, we're just gonna say if it doesn't find the row, it's just gonna say default units like this. So for instance, if we do an error in the units to spawn in the grid, for instance, instead of typing in knight, I type in T. Yeah, it was a mistake. And hit play, is gonna spawn a default unit instead. Yeah. So we don't want that. We want Wolf Rider. And we have a Wolf Rider. Okay, so we're good with this. So we only have that. Combat data, we want combat data. Combat data are going to be a grid of units for now, and maybe other stuff, which is going to be like, and we're creating this in advance because we might be sending other information, like I don't know, equipment buffs or other stuff like this. So we're gonna be calling. We're just gonna add. We're just not gonna add. Yeah, we're gonna add something now. For now. I don't know what. We just want a random variable, just for the sake of having to not having just the grid units in there. So bind to game state, send combat data. So this is going to be in the phase folder with the bind, not bind to game state initialization, I guess. Get in-game state, this is going to be utils. It's going to be utils as well, that and that here, game phase, that. We want that. So bind to game state, when we switch this game phase, we receive that event. When we receive that event, if we are local, we send our combat data. So we have a combat data variable like this. Send combat data. So what do we do here? We're gonna have a custom event here named server receive combat data, which is gonna be run on server reliable, and it's gonna grab a combat data parameter in data, just that. And send combat data is actually gonna grab the player fight zones. It's gonna grab the units. How is it called on the grid? So one grid knows a level grid. Oh, we're not storing. We're storing the squares, but we're not storing the units. When we're spawning the units, are we storing them somewhere? No, we are not. And we don't want to store them here. We want to open up our units. And how does it register? Construction script, find square, initial square, blah blah. Yeah, we're okay. So instead of doing this, we will do something like register units. Oh, yeah. With a new event called units, taking a unit as parameter in units, and for now it's just gonna store. Oh yeah, we're registering to a square, not a grid. Do we have an event on the grid? No, we don't. So I guess, and does it has a reference to its grid? No, it doesn't. So I guess it's just gonna call dispatcher. Dispatch on unit snapped. Call a new parameter called unit. On unit snap. Actually, so we have a bunch of units. When we move out a unit, when we move a unit out of a tile, of a square, where do we tell the square to get emptied? Dragging start moving units. So yeah, we're removing this here. So actually we don't need to do all of this. We don't need that. We just need register unit. We don't need that. So a grid can just get unit grid, and it's gonna return a unit grid, an array in units. It's not gonna be pure. And this is gonna loop through all the squares. We want the keys. It's gonna loop through all the keys, and we're gonna find all the squares if they have a unit. If this is equal, if it's valid, we're gonna create a temporary array to store that. Local variable temp units, and we're going to return that when we end. So if we have a unit in the square, we're going to add that unit here. In that index, get data row. Oh, we don't have the name here. Oh yeah, but we do have the name actually. Get name, get row name, get unit row. Yeah, that's it. So this gives us the list of units we have. Get units grid in our player state. So when we should be sending combat data, we should be doing this. Server receive combat data like this. We don't want that. We don't care. And so what do we need now? So when the recruit phase starts, everyone sends that information on the server, and the server actually needs to wait for each of the player or still competing to send their information. So we're gonna have a new function, get remaining players. We're gonna send that to players for now. On events, in our event graph, okay, on the parent class, we are actually storing people coming. Record, oh, not the players. Okay, I wanted the, I wanted the in-game state. So when a player joins, we give them an ID. Traveling players, that's not what we want. We have online players in team colors, so that's pretty good. I guess the in-game state wants to keep a more specific track of players and not based on the player state, because if it dies, if a player disconnects, we want to keep track of his information. So in the in-game state we're gonna have, can we call that players? Yeah, we can. It's gonna be a table of a map of string, and I guess we have some kind of and we're using this. We removed the status, the player status logic, so I guess we're gonna need one. A new structure called F in-game player. So what is it gonna be? So it's gonna be a name, it's gonna be a team ID, and it's gonna be, yeah, a color, and it's gonna be a grid, a unit grid, an array of unit grid, and a status, in-game player status. We're gonna have like connecting, alive, dead, and disconnected. Connecting, alive, dead, disconnected. And we're gonna have a status there. In-game player status, which is not gonna be an array. So we're gonna have nickname, team ID, color, team color, units, and status. So this is gonna be by default. We're good with this. Network player, we don't care. The game state, we don't care. The player state, we don't care. The grid, I think we don't care anymore. And the in-game state is gonna store players when they arrive. Everyone is gonna store them. In that map, in-game player, we're gonna add like this, get nickname, like that. And what do we want to do here? We won't care about this for now. We have a bunch of units and it's gonna return, yeah, it's gonna return an error. We need to do this. So we are fine with this. We have some kind of way to store our dynamic player information. This is not going to be replicated. We will handle this differently. So server receive combat data, it needs to grab the game states and it needs to send them information about, we are awaiting combat data and we are receiving combat data. Combat data like this, in data, in player, I guess, string I meant, for player like this. We're gonna have a variable, new match data, no, new combat data. And I guess it's not gonna be in-game player controller, it's gonna be combat data. New combat data like this. So when everyone, wait a minute, we were there, receive combat data like this, for player get nickname. So when the game state, so the player state, when we want to go to the combat phase, we're storing this. I meant in the in-player state. Yeah, I was kinda confused. So new phase starts. If we are local, we want to send our combat data. We get our unit grid and we send this on server on the in-player state, which then tells the game state only on server. So at that time, no units have been spawned yet. We receive that information on server. So we have the units of each of the player. We need to keep track of how many players are there. So get remaining player, we don't want that here. We want that in the in-game state. Get remaining players. And what does it do? It basically gets the player, it gets the values, it loops through the in-game players, it grabs their status, and if they are currently alive, we want to promote some kind of integer +1. So we want some kind of online variable, temporary variable. This is going to be an int, temp player count. We're going to grab this and increase that number. So as long as there are player alive, we can run this and return that value. Return value, this is gonna be pure, and we need to do something real quick. We need to say that not the network player, the in-game player by default is status is not connecting. No, we're not gonna put connecting, not like this. So the in-game state, when a player connects, is gonna tell his information that is alive now, like this. So when we ask for remaining players, we are getting an answer that corresponds to what we need. So when we receive combat data, we are grabbing the remaining amount of players. Everyone should be sending information about this. So new combat data, when we actually go to combat phase, the server is actually gonna clear this. We're actually gonna clear this. And when we receive combat data, we're going to add this guy, and we're gonna check if the length is equal to the amount of remaining player we have, and we are actually going to move this elsewhere. We're gonna remove this and put that in await combat data. And when we receive combat data, we're going to call that. So the server clears this, it goes await for, we don't have the remaining amount, enough units in here. At some point we will, because all player states are going to send this on server. So we're gonna rerun that event. And when we have received all of this information, what do we want to do? We want to grab all of the battlefields and spawn the required units there. We can't exactly do this because we don't have the proper battlefields for each player there. And that state doesn't have a reference to the battlefield for now, but it should have. Yeah, it should. But we actually stored all of the battlefield in our camera widget, in our camera switcher, that guy. We are getting all the battlefields there. We could be getting all the battlefields on the game state as well. I guess we'll do this. We'll copy that, we'll go to the game state, we'll create a new function, find all battlefields. We're gonna paste this in here, and we're gonna be calling this in the event begin play. Go to find all battlefield before going to the phase, and we're gonna grab their ID. We're gonna create a new variable called battlefields, which is gonna be a map of integer and battlefield, like this. And we're gonna add each battlefield we found, like this. And we're going to need a new variable, which is going to be like current match, which is gonna be interesting. it's gonna be a string. So we have an error in our camera, but in our camera thing, because the current match is like so we want to store where to send what players, units, and camera to what battlefield. And in our camera switcher system, we don't have a system to teleport the camera in the other rotation, which means we'll have to build some kind of logic which does that. Well, actually, it could be in the battle, in this the fight zone could know that easily. If its ID is like, yeah, if the fight zone ID is 1, it means we have to rotate the camera. So that's okay, I guess. But the in-game state, how are we gonna store that? We need, so that player is gonna be located at, okay, so that's easy actually. We're just gonna need something else in the levels. We're gonna have a new utils, which is gonna be rather, oh, I deleted it. It didn't like it. So we're just gonna be in the player folder or the game system. Yeah, I guess it's game system. We're gonna have a new blueprint structure, which is gonna be F match, and it's gonna take a battlefield ID reference, an integer. My bad. It's gonna take two integers. So battlefield ID and fight zone ID, like this. So we want to remove. We want to go to the game state, and current match is going to be this and a match. So it's not. This is not a match. Actually, it's not match. It's fight zone ID. Match ID. Match ID, I guess. It's not exactly that. So we have some match player function which we are calling at the recruitment phase. So what are we going to do here? Get remaining player count. And it's gonna return 0, 0 for now. Current match is gonna return 0, 0. Because in here we need to know in what battlefield we have been elected to. So what do we need more now? We need to store. The server needs to know who is where here. In that way, when we await combat data and we received all, the server can grab this variable and tell each of the battlefields, each of the fight zones. So we're going to need fight zones, actually, not battlefields, which is going to be a vector 2D. Actually, it was silly to create a match ID here. We just need a vector 2D. Yeah, we want to change the variable type. We want to go there, delete that, hit compile. We want to go back to here and remove the match ID, delete that. And we don't want to find all the battlefields like this. Well, actually, yeah, maybe we do, but we more specifically want to create a new variable which is going to contain all the fight zones. It's going to be a vector 2D, and it's going to be an array of fight zones here, like this. fight zone, we want to add. So the first variable is gonna be the ID of the battlefield, and the second variable is gonna be the ID of the fight zone. Yeah, we're gonna loop through all the fight zones we have here. So that's what I meant when I was talking about the fight zones. We actually, the battlefield needs to have an array of fight zone, and not the fight zone like this. So we're gonna have like fight zones. Oh, we're gonna duplicate that. Fight zones like this. This is gonna be an array, and we're going to grab that, get the first one, we don't care about this, like this. And we want to get rid of all these references. So we are setting this here. We actually want to add this, the fight zone 1, and we want to add the fight zone 0, the 0 and the 1 I meant. So where is it called? It's called in here. So we want to loop through them, to loop through the fight zones, and we want to set there the units to be spawned. We don't want that, like this. So where else are we using them? Nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found, I meant. Find reference, get player fight zone. So actually in here we want to grab the first fight zone in here, get a copy in there. So this is our base fight zone. And in there we can delete them. Save all. And in there we can loop through the fight zones. We want to loop through them. And for each of the fight zones here, we want to store the fight zone, and we want to store the ID, which is the battlefield, and the fight zone. Like this. So we have that. So when we receive all, what do we want to do? We basically want to grab the new combat data. We want to loop through everything. We want to get the keys, I meant. We want to loop through everything regarding the keys. And we want to find, we want to find that player in the combat data. We want to break that. We want to find where he is supposed to fight. We want to break that. So this gives us a fight zone. So we want to grab the fight zone. Like this. The proper fight zone. And that fight zone needs to be spawning a bunch of units, which are going to be these ones. So this will do, if we hit play now, it's going to behave weirdly. Not quite. I guess that because we might have forgotten some to start up some logic. Go to phase, go to recruit phase, go to combat phase. We are waiting for combat data. At some point we have the combat data of everyone. I want to see that working before wrapping up that video. I meant by working, I meant breaking the logic, because I guess it should be spawning. Oh no, because that's empty. It should not be empty. That thing should not be emptied. So it means it should be spawning units in here, or maybe in the first battlefield. In any case, we should be seeing something happening. So we're printing hello world when we're spawning stuff, when we're ready for the combat. So we're never seeing anything. So the combat phase is going to last for like 60 seconds for now. So what's not working? It was quite strange. Await, go to combat phase. So the server is actually throwing this. Well, why do we have? I'm wondering why we have so many prints. How much should we have? This should trigger 3 times. Yeah. Okay, so that's working. But it's never actually going there. We're never receiving this. And why is it so? Because we're never adding anything to this, are we? Go to combat phase, we're clearing, and when we receive combat data, we're actually adding this. So yeah, we should be. So that's get remaining player count, that does not work. I guess when a player joins, we're adding him, and his status is alive. We're checking if they are alive, and if so, we are increasing that value. Then we're returning that value. So await combat data. Where is it? Where is it? It's there. So we're only at 1. Why are we just at 1? We should be at 2. In here it should read 2. I guess that's because no, it is only doing this once, I guess. Oh yeah, okay. Because we are doing this. Yeah. So the problem is that when we throw this, it's actually clearing, it's actually sending the combat information. So we actually want to be doing this before. Like that. Only if we have authority. Server 2. Did it work? Then because we haven't seen anything spawn or anything like this. And we're gonna say that the recruit phase lasts for 10 seconds just for the purpose of seeing what's going on. We're gonna move that guy. We're gonna move these guys, I meant. So the guys are not moved anywhere. And we didn't receive the... We did not, did we? No, we did not receive anything. Which means we have some kind of problems in the remaining player logic. What does it say? What does it say? 2? Well, it should be working then. Then I guess, because... Oh yeah. I'm not sure why I'm checking minus less than. So let's hit play, let's move that guy real fast. So nobody is moved. So there is something not quite working still. I understand why the guy is not moving though. Hello world. So the server received all the information it needed. And once more. So he received everything he needed. It just doesn't quite find the player fight zone. I'm guessing this returns. This should be returning. That's 0 0. What if we open that up? Did we put 0 or 1? 0 and 1. So I guess one way or another we should receive. I just want to check if we received that, and we're gonna do the match logic in the next video. We just want to see if this says something to us like 0 0, which it should, I think. 0 0 0 0, yeah. Everyone in 0 0. So we're telling the fight zones to be spawning units equal to the units in the new combat data, which corresponds to which should correspond to what we've done here. But nobody is but they are all so why does it do this? Combat data, are they empty? Is this empty? So the player state tells him is this empty? I'm wondering. Get unit grid. No, it's not empty. So is this await combat data? Is this not working? The length of that. So we indeed have 2 of them. So we're just gonna print when we spawn a unit, when we're asking for unit to spawns. What do we have here as units? Ranger and Wolf Rider, so that's correct. But it doesn't spawn them, does it? So it works here, and it is spawning them. But we can't see where. Well, actually we can't know if we're not moving the guy. Oh, we only have 3 of them. We only have 3 of them. But we can see them anyway. So if we don't move them... Oh yeah. It's working. It's putting them on top of each other. Yeah, okay, so that's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see that bug in. We have all the units spawning on top of each other, and that's exactly the bug I meant the behavior, the wrong behavior I was expecting to experience. So this is okay. So this is going to wrap up that video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.